Welcome back to the Boys in Motion podcast, where we lace up, log miles, and carb load across the continent. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Tyler. And this week we're diving into one of the biggest moments of the season, the Berlin Marathon race week.
We're going to be giving you the ultimate guide to the 2025 BMW Berlin Marathon. If you're racing, spectating, or you're just tracking your favorite runner man on the course, we've got everything you need to know. Some tips about the expo, the course, logistics, and how to show up ready on race day.
Berlin is flat, fast, and full of that energy. It's also full of those little details that can make or break your race. From the new expo location to the sneaky pacing traps for the first 10K, this guide will help you stay ahead of the game.
I've been out here trying to dodge some not so quite so phantom injuries, and I will soon be munching croissants in Paris to carb load for the big day. And it's almost time to take on Berlin, so let's dive in.
I can't wait. This is amazing. I can't wait to hear about it. I can't wait to see it happen. And I think you planned it out perfectly for that pre-race in Europe. You're getting ready for the different time zone, of course, but like you mentioned a little bit, is your pre-race loading, carb loading in the best place on earth where they find the best bread and coffee. So let's, I guess, start with that. Your arrival, by the time we're posting this, you'll probably already be in Europe. And yeah, it's race week. Hit it off with your arrival and how you're going to get to Berlin.
Yep, so I am flying out to Paris on Tuesday. So doing a red eye, so we'll actually show up in Paris on Wednesday morning. My thought there was that it's a 6-hour time difference. My first, not first, Chicago was in a different time zone, but just 2 hours. My first larger time zone difference race, so I wanted to try to get there and get somewhere. Paris has the same time zone as Berlin, so I'll be on the same time zone as of Wednesday to kind of get that sleep schedule in, kind of get my body ready. And I thought there was no better place to carb load than Paris, so that's where I decided to go first.
That's freaky. So how many days there until you make that official, let's call it, pilgrimage up to the land that you're going to be running this marathon in?
So I'll be there from Wednesday until Friday, so a few good days to get those carbs in. The one tricky part, and that's I'm going to try to do my very, very best to stay off the legs, because being in a big city, we know it's super tempting to just walk all over the place, see all the sights. So I'm going to try to either jump on a bike, hopefully an e-bike, because that will really save the legs, because I don't want to show up into Berlin having walked 30K for the last 2 days.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. And we've talked about it in the past on some of our local races, but we log 10K steps just walking around Toronto, going to the expo and doing a couple fun things in a city that's not even that interesting. So I can imagine being out there and trying to see things, but at the same time knowing you're there for a specific reason will be pretty interesting as well. I mean, you could get Mischievous or friggin' Ian to wheel you around a wheelchair. That's also a possibility.
That is definitely a possibility, and yeah, I might have to get Ian to grab a wheelbarrow and just bring me around because, actually no. Since Ian is doing the 5K as well on the Saturday, it might have to be Mischievous that pushes around Ian and
Both
myself and Chris because we'll all be saving our legs.
Over frig, I think you're going to need a big wheelbarrow for the three of you. That's for sure. And fill it up with bread too.
Oh, 100%. And I think Mischievous is going to need to do some exercises before to be able to push all the boys around the city.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see some. You're going to have to send some pics and we're going to have to put some up on our socials as well to fire up the squad.
Definitely.
So I'm thinking now we're there. You right? Are you picking up Friday race bib? How's the expo looking? What do you know your plans yet? I guess
Yeah, so this year the expo is actually in a new location. It used to be in an old airport that was kind of in between kind of the tier garden where the start is and the main airport. It was in like an old airport landing area, but it's actually switched to Mess Hall, which is kind of slightly west of the city. And the expo will be running Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., Friday 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then Saturday 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. My plan, and that's kind of, I've heard that in the past, it's a new location, so this might change, but I keep seeing online people talking about German efficiency and that Berlin Marathon does not follow the German efficiency, and that some of the things are a little chaotic, and that includes the expo, and that it's kind of a wild rush, super busy, and it takes a long time. But this year they did introduce booking time slots. So my plan is I'm flying in around 5 o'clock Berlin time on Friday evening, and I'm just going right from the airport, and I'm just going to take public transit right to the expo to pick up my race bib, look at some merch. I want to take a look at the shirts, maybe the jackets, and see if I want to pick some stuff up. So that's my plan right now.
That's awesome. I can't even imagine the vibes that are going to be going on there for the expo. And I mean, I guess you're saying German efficiency, but it was westernized with this major marathon, I guess. So all hell might break loose, and you're just going to have to wait in those lines and get all those free samples.
Oh yeah, I'm real excited for the free samples. I remember, and I mean, Ian is joining me on the fun for this one, but I remember the first expo I went to with Ian, and that was at the Chicago Marathon, and seeing Ian kind of slurping down some of those products when he was a non-endurance man, and he was not impressed. So I'm excited to see him this time, now that he is a big endurance freak, to see if, he's kind of come around to the ways of the endurance products.
Oh yeah, I think he's going to see it in a new light and be like, "Wow, I've been missing out on this, and now I know what it's like." And I think it's gonna be different for him. He's gonna definitely like it this time coming around.
100%. And I feel like kind of one of his big claim to fames that he's been super excited about is the fact that he's running an international 5K, a big international 5K. So I think he's definitely going to be picking up some swag and a nice Berlin 5K shirt. And you best believe there'll be some nice pictures at the expo of the runner man and the protege himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, need the pictures, need the merch, need the swag, especially that international race. I mean, the credit card better watch out on that day, that's for sure. And you better unblock it for those international transactions.
Oh yeah, 100%. Can't be getting blocked when I'm trying to get one of those finisher jackets and I'm just getting declined by my Canadian bank saying, "What the heck are you doing in Europe?" So yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's a good reminder that I should call my banks, tell them I'm going to the Berlin Marathon, baby.
Oh, frig, I like that. Everybody who's listening and getting there, unblock your cards. Let's go on to course breakdown and a little bit of some sort of strategy. Let's do it. I want to hear everything from weather, those, of course, those iconic landmarks. And yeah, what do you, have you studied the aid station and the actual elevation? I heard it's flat, but the precise elevation outline and things like that.
I have. So it is race week now. We're recording this on Monday. So we're less than a week out from race day. So I'm definitely checking the weather at this point. And one of the big things for Berlin is it's known for having very ideal racing conditions, kind of in that 12 to 18 at the peak. But right now it's actually looking like it's going to be a little bit of a hot race with, so I'm in Corral A. So I'll be starting at 9:15 a.m. for those that want to tune in and watch. Well, that for people here that will be very early because we're 6 hours ahead. But it will
Mm-hmm.
be 19 Celsius at the start, which is a touch hot for a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with a high of 25. So the high isn't too crazy, but I will say the temperature is looking a little hotter than I would like it. But it will be a great day for spectators. So a little give and take. I remember last year at Toronto Waterfront, it was kind of the same thing. It was a little touch too hot, but great for spectators and ended up being a great day for all. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, it's not that 100% humidity, 35, 40 degree summer that we're used to. So, I mean, you've trained in that weather, 18, 19 degrees and high of 25 would probably be one of the best days we've had this summer. So, yeah, I think you're equipped for it, and I could imagine that you have done that heat training. Although not comfortable, I think you could still get a pretty good comfortability with that weather.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've been training all through the Southern Ontario summer, which has been hot, like actually a record hot and humid summer. So I'm not too nervous going into a slightly hot race. Jumping into you mentioned the course, and and this is one of the main reasons I'm so excited about the Berlin Marathon. It is a pretty ideal course for setting record fast paces. You mentioned it. Elevation gain super minimal, about 70 to 75 meters across the 42 kilometers. And I think it's slightly net down by like a meter or two. So pretty much pancake flat with no kind of serious elevation or no serious like up bridges or anything like that. I know some like London will have some bridges where it actually feels like a significant hill, where Berlin is mostly just kind of slight ups here and there, slight downs here, but for the most part, pancake flat.
That's music to my ears. Do you know if there's any areas? I know some old cities or towns have, like, let's call it uneven roads, cobblestone, or any sort of gravel patches, or you're going to be running on basically smooth asphalt the whole time.
I believe for the most part it's all smooth asphalt. And what I've heard and what I've seen from doing some research is that the roads are quite wide in Berlin, so it's not like you're necessarily like super squished. Although I have heard that in the first, let's say 10 kilometers, and depends which corral you end up in, I've heard that the start of the race is quite crowded just due to how many people, like I last year was a record high because it was the 50th anniversary, but there is around kind of that 50,000 runners, so it's a
Uh,
huge race. So I know that at the beginning it can get quite crowded.
yeah, and I was going to say, you said wide roads, so remember, do not take the wide turn. I know Brian preaches this, taking the tangent, always taking the fastest line. So I guess that's probably just even more pronounced on a, let's call it, bigger race. And with wide roads, you kind of want to have yourself pick that line and make sure you're not giving yourself an extra kilometer for no reason, right?
100%. And here's a cool tip about Berlin is they actually paint the blue line, and in this race specifically that line actually represents the tangent. I know in some other marathon majors, I believe Boston has the line but it's not the tangent, where at Berlin it actually is the tangent. So it's a nice kind of just follow the blue line at the beginning. I think it might be a little bit tough and I might have to do some dipping and dodging to that might add a couple extra meters that the investigators might not like, but I'm going to try to stick to that blue line as best as I can.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably that blue line will be a hot area. A lot of people will want to get their feet on that line and stick to it, right? So yeah, either you watch it, you stay near it, and yeah, you just, I guess, are mindful for that blue line. That is pretty interesting. That's cool. We're talking about flat speed. Do you have a pacing strategy going into this one? I would imagine, just thinking of myself racing, you've introduced me to the flat world of marathons. I think that my two first ones were Ottawa, pretty hilly. Then I went to Toronto and fell in love with flat marathons, and now I'm doing a downhill one. So you could just imagine, but like I could just imagine the different pacing strategy, right, that you have with the flat marathon.
Yeah, I think with the nature of the course and having ran Chicago, that's a very, on paper, very similar course. I think I'm going to take a very similar approach where I take the first, let's say 10K a little easier. One, because there will be more people, it'll be more congested, but I think I'm going to use that to my advantage to kind of not go quite as hard as I normally would at the beginning, so that hopefully I have some extra juice left over at about 30K to kind of pick it up. So I'm going to go 10K, nice and easy, smooth. Don't try to do too much weaving through the crowd to get too far ahead unless it, it really starts slowing down. And then kind of 10K to half, I want to kind of settle in to goal marathon pace, if not slightly below. At half, I'm going to do a check-in, and if I see my heart rate from the heat is creeping a bit above kind of my target, and normally for me is around that 175, 174 is normally where I like to see it. If I see it start creeping above that, at half is where I will pull back just a little bit with the intention at 30K to kind of assess. And at that point, kind of 30K to 35 to slowly, gradually build up. And then at 35, I will just kind of try to, go until the wheels fall off and really try to finish as strong as possible. It's nice and flat. I'm sure the crowds will be getting good, kind of blasting through that Brandenburg gate. The energy will be just super, super high. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, you made an interesting point with that, your final 10, your final 5. Do you still look at heart rate in those final, call it 5 to 10K?
I might peek at it for kind of going after 30, kind of 30 to 35. I might look at it and kind of make sure it's not going like too crazy, like way like over 180, let's say. But in that final kind of 5-6K, all bets are off. I'm not really looking at my watch too much at that point. I'm just kind of giving it my all. If I'm feeling like somewhat in control, I know I can hold that for 5K. So just press on. Generally, my target there is just pick people, especially in these big city races. That's what I love. You can start picking people off that have not paced properly. Pick someone up ahead, pass them, pick a new victim, and then just crush their dreams.
So basically, you'd be looking at my back and then just crushing me and going to the next. No, that's freaky. I'm getting fired up just thinking of that. And I guess we have to address the elephant in the room, or the caterpillar, I might have to say. But I think that stash might give you some extra speed boost, especially at the end.
I'm certainly hoping. So this is definitely, I took a page out of your and McDuff's book on this one, that I've been dealing with some injuries, and maybe we'll jump into that in a little bit. Maybe not quite yet, because that's when you'll start roasting me. But I needed a little bit of, a good luck charm, a little bit of free speed, as people call it. So I figured that the stash is like the wings on the back of a race car, and it's just pure aerodynamics. The breeze will just flow through the stash wings. So yeah, I'm pulling out all the guns to try to muster together a somewhat decent race on Sunday.
Well, exactly. You like you said, you pulled a page out of my book, and it's style points, swag points, and the speed. I think that will have unmatched gains, even faster than any other gains that you could have. I think the mustache is a must go to, especially for a European race. Yeah, nothing more fitting than a man in a stash running in his high heels.
Oh, 100%. I can't wait to just get Morton goo just all caught in the stash and just be looking like I'm a rabid raccoon running down the streets of Berlin.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're gonna say, "What is this Western man doing over here?" It's gonna be freaky. I can't wait to see the race pics. That's another amazing reason why I do it. Is the race pictures just look that much better.
100%.
I was gonna say, well, you did talk about Morton, so I want to hear your nutrition strategy as well.
Love it. That's where I was going to. So we're on the
Okay,
same
good.
page. So yeah, this is actually something that is a little bit different. Before the strategy, I'll just talk about the race and
Yeah,
its aid stations. And there's something a little unique about Berlin. And that's one that, unlike other races, and this I've heard has caused quite a bit of chaos. I'm hoping it doesn't cause too much for me, because I'll be hopefully closer to the front of the race. But they serve their water in hard plastic cups instead of soft paper cups. So apparently, you take them, whatever. First of all, they're harder to grab. You can't do the pinch method that I've perfected.
yeah.
And you throw them down, and then you're crunching on plastic cups on the high heels. So apparently it's a
Oh,
little
so
bit of
it's like,
chaos.
so it's not like, yeah, I know what you mean. So it's like you could still squish the plastic cup. Like it's not an actual dishwasher safe like cup.
Oh
It's
no.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's still wild.
So that is an element that I'm, will be new, have not really
Jeez.
practiced with that. There's also they recommend or they tell people that you can bring your own flasks and you can refill them. I will not be participating in that because I won't have any time to slow down. Yeah. No, so it's,
I
it's
got
it's harder than that, crunchier than
But
that.
look, I got one of these, and it's
Yes.
pretty interesting actually. You could put your thumb in it, and you
Yes.
could you could still squish it, but it's
Yeah.
reusable.
For
But
those
yeah,
not watching on YouTube, Tyler's showing it's like a Hydro Pack, like the quick cups. I
yeah,
I don't know the specific name, but yeah, no, not like
yeah.
that. It's a hard plastic
It's
cup.
actually a hard plastic. That's
Yeah.
wild.
So
Well,
that's
that'll be different. Yeah, for sure.
that's
That's a
interesting.
dynamic.
The other interesting thing, so it is Morton on course, drink mix and gel. There's actually only one
Oh,
gel
nice.
station though, which is interesting. I,
What?
I always have all my own, so it doesn't really matter
Yeah,
to me, but that seems like a bit of a mess.
interesting. And but I mean, I would honestly much rather drink mix at those areas than
Yes.
a gel. Let's
And
say.
there's six stations with the drink mix, so that's
Wow,
pretty
that's
nice.
yeah, that's not bad. I
And
mean, like probably you're not going to be using only race course nutrition either, but I would probably recommend that you don't just rely on that course nutrition, right?
no, yeah, for sure. That's I will be all my gels will be on me. I'm targeting about 90 to 100 grams of carbs per hour. I'm going to be going mostly cis beta fuel, swapping out between the calf, non-calf, and then also doing some Morton kind of mixed in there. So I'll be kind of doing every 20 to 25 minutes a gel, and I'll kind of level out to be about 90 grams of carbs in gels, and then I'll probably take a couple of drink mixes as well. So it might be like 90 to 100.
Nice. And I guess this is your first block where you're getting up to those 80, 90, 100 range, right?
Yeah, normally for races, I have done 80 in the past, always like
Okay.
exactly 80 with water on course. So this time I'm going to start with gels. I'm going to start using or having drink mixes. If I find that I have any kind of stomach discomfort, I'll pull back from taking any drink mix and just switch to water on the course. That's generally what I did. I actually did that in Toronto, where taking the noon, and I don't know if it was the slight like effervescence of noon, it kind of gave me a little bit of GI issues, and I stopped, and then it was kind of it
Mm.
settled out.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, yeah, of course you've probably had noon before, but nothing new on race day. So that is good that they have the drink mix. You're well aware of that product, and I mean, Morton, it's freaking rocket fuel. So you can't go wrong with that unless it does start giving you too much GI. But yeah, that's a kind of a feel thing going through that race. But no, I think that's a great strategy, and I mean pretty freaky when you're trying to put down 90 grams plus per hour running, because I know even cycling that's hard to do. So that's going to be really interesting to see the post race recap. If you could have stuck to that plan, is going to be amazing.
A few other things on the nutrition front that are a little bit unique and interesting to Berlin. One, at the aid stations, some of them, the ones that have water, fruit, and the Morton, also have tea with sugar. That's kind of an interesting thing, and I don't, really know who's going for that option. Yeah,
I wonder if it's cold or
unknown. I probably won't find out because I probably won't be grabbing for it. But thought it was interesting. Is like normally it's pretty standard sports mix, water,
yeah,
maybe some bananas. But yeah, tea with sugar.
yeah. That's interesting. Maybe even just like room temperature, whatever. They make it up and then they just offer it in case anybody wants it. I don't know. That'll be fun.
Yeah. The other thing is, and this is an option that I think if I would have practiced with bottles a little bit more and grabbing them, I may have went for this option, but Berlin actually lets you be like the elites and offers bottle service at 4 spots. So basically on race morning, if you go between 7 and 7:45 a.m., you can bring your own personalized bottles, and the thing is
What?
that so you put your name, your bib, and then from pictures I've seen, you put them in like buckets for the kilometer markers, and then they put them at your kind of personal refreshment tables on the course. So you kind of need to like make them like look nice or like fancy and unique so that you know it's yours. But with like not using bottles that much in that way where I'm grabbing them quick, and also not knowing how chaotic the tables are going to be, I was like, I'm not going to try it this time, but I thought it was a kind of cool, unique thing.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, what if 20,000 people want to drop a bottle?
Yeah. And that's, I keep reading that it's not used by that many people, only like a few hundred. But I'm like, what if today is the day that, I don't know. And then I need to deal with when I get to Berlin, I need to get bottles, I need to decorate them. So I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I'll just stick to the plastic cups.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like that, that drop bag idea at Ironman. Do you do it or do you not? I know for a fact that you pass, I guess in a marathon, you don't have to stop completely, but I do remember passing a fair amount of people just trying to get stuff out of their bag, right? So I could imagine some people, not going for that any times in the sub 3 or even in the 3 to 3.5 hour mark that stopping for a few seconds could really mess up that kilometer trying to fiddle around with the bottle. So
Yeah, 100%. And in this case, like I like the carbs and
yeah,
like the already mix that is on course, so I'm not too fussed about it. If I was super picky and had like GI issues with like Morton and stuff,
right.
maybe it would be kind of something I'd go for.
Yeah, and just one more thing before we keep going. I also found it weird that there is bananas on marathon running course. I've never seen that before. Have you?
The only place I've ever seen it is at the May Toronto Marathon,
Yeah,
where so you didn't see them because it's on the one part where that
in the
marathoners
neighborhood.
veered off a Young Street. So that marathon offers no gels, only bananas.
What the
So
heck?
the fruit for like people that are a little bit more in the kind of back to middle section, the fruit is actually pretty nice. I like that addition.
I actually do agree with that. I think bananas are fruit. I've used it in very long races, but I can't imagine trying to scarf down a quarter banana going at marathon speed. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Banana at around the sub 3, not the move. I don't think. I think I would choke and die.
That would be a sight to see you trying to scarf one down with that stash. That's for sure. And the long hair, you got to grow that out. You'd look like
I don't have enough time. If I did, I would. I would.
maybe next year we'll think about it in our next business meeting.
Big business.
Now I'm on to the final 48. I want to hear, that the days leading up that weekend, the Friday night going into the Saturday. I know you're the king of carb load. I've learned off of you. It is no easy task eating that amount of food and carbs pre-race, and I guess that much different, I think, in another country, let alone another continent. So bring us through a little bit of that final 48 carb load, what you're doing, even your sleep wise, what you're doing, and yeah, how you're getting ready for that day.
Yeah. So I love a good carb load, and for a big peak A race, especially the marathon, our carb load has so many advantages. Just you got to pump up those glycogen stores. So actually, probably on Wednesday will be on the 18th is when I'm going to start the carb load. And generally, I follow the kind of 8 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight. So I'll be in that 750 to 900 grams where I'll go on the low end 3 days out and then ramp it up to probably closer to 12 grams per kilogram. So that's the 4 days leading up to the race. The other thing that I'll be doing as far as loading is I always load up on the beets. We need the beets, get the nitrates going.
True.
So I'll be bringing, because I don't want to be, because I'm in somewhere new and I don't want to be scrambling when I'm there looking for like beet shots or something, not knowing the products. I'm bringing my tried, tested, just beet powder, and I'm going to be mixing up some beet drinks. So that
Nice.
same thing I'm going to be doing from, actually this I might start on the 17th or on the Wednesday when I get to Paris, all the way up until race day. I do 30 grams of powder. So I'll be doing that every morning right up until the race, I'll do one final 30-gram dose about 2 to 3 hours before the race. So that's the preloading as far as getting ready for that race day.
I mean, that's music to my ears. I remember I was once that man just off of a fresh carb load, and I wish you the best. It's going to be an amazing carb load, and even better with all, like we were saying, all those pastries and beautiful food in Paris and in Germany. So no, that's great. I think I'm gonna look at back at this. I have a marathon in a few weeks as well. I'm gonna try to look at that 8 to 12 gram per kilogram and actually track it. I have been starting to track more, but still pretty loose on that tracking because I'm just say the more in the better. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be interesting, and I think your beet recipe, I actually confess I did not do it for the Ironman, but I did miss it. I have to do it back up for my next race because that is definitely something to do. And I had another question for you. Are you just focused on carbs? Are you going to be looking at any protein? And I know for me, something that I started in my carb load and I've done research on was fiber, because I know there's carbs. Fiber is carbs as well, but a percentage of fiber, I'm interested to hear if you're going to be tracking fiber.
As far as protein and fiber, I'm not going to be tracking that as closely. I would say going into race day, dropping the fiber down, kind of like those like leafy greens and kind of the super fibrous vegetables, going to be keeping it pretty simple and going more to those either, like still complex carbs, but then also definitely some like simple carbs. But definitely like you want to bring down the fiber a little bit just so that kind of you don't want that kind of GI distress. And I find bringing that fiber down can definitely help with that. Protein, we'll definitely be trying to keep like good quality protein, but it definitely will like tip way bigger on the carbs because
Yeah.
same with the fat. Like I'm going to be obviously in a calorie surplus across those days with how many carbs I'll be consuming, but in order to not like go crazy, I'm going to try to not be having too much, especially fatty foods. Kind of try to keep the fat to a minimum and just kind of good clean protein to kind of just help with the recovery as I lead into race day.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that I did try in my last prep was actually eliminating fiber altogether, actually, probably 3 days out. And yeah, I had no GI issues, and it really helped me with, in general, on race day. Obviously, this is a longer race I was doing, but yeah, fiber definitely can sneak up on you, let's just say. No, but yeah, that's really amazing. I can't wait to hear how many we'll do a baguette count, I think, for the weekend and the days leading up to it, because that could get pretty freaky.
Yeah, I'm hoping the baguette count will definitely be in the double digits is the
Right.
goal. But we'll see. We'll see how high we can push it. You know, when it comes to carbs, I don't mess around, so I don't plan on starting to.
Exactly. And yeah, a couple more items to hit here. Let's talk about quickly. Let's do some hard hitting numbers on your hydration. Your electrolytes, just water in general. I would imagine you're just sipping and having a good time all day long, having some salty margaritas.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my kind of when it comes to hydration and nutrition, the during day out of exercise hydration is definitely a weak point of mine. But leading into race, I always try to double down on it, have at least one kind of equivalent of a LMNT, like one serving of pool water, which is 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So I kind of always want to be sipping on at least that and probably getting in about kind of 4 Nalgene, so about 4 liters, a gallon of water per day, kind of leading up. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as that. Get some electrolytes, get a bunch of water on the days leading up, and then morning of, mostly just sip on liquid carbs because I don't want to just kind of like put too much water into my system and flush out kind of the carbs.
Yeah, there's a fine line between that and again, you have experience. I think it's a fine line. Like you said, you have to make sure you have the right ratios so you're retaining what you're taking in, but also you're not leaving too much on the table. So no, it'll be a good balance, and it's going to be nice and freaky that you're going to be so hydrated.
Oh, yeah. Water's
What do
gonna
you
be
think?
flowing through me like the Seine River, baby.
Oh, baby, I can't wait to hear about it. Well, I'm thinking about a couple things still. I'm still on that leading up to the race. We could talk about, that post race, let's call it afterwards, because I'm really interested to hear about that as well. But, we talked about sleep recently too. Good, the good man does the 8 hours a day. I would imagine you're trying to strive for some good sleep, quality sleep leading up to that. It'll be hard on those first couple days with the time change and you being in a different area, but yeah, bring us through some of that sleep strategy.
Yeah, really just trying to focus on around 8 hours, good quality sleep, right up until kind of Friday night. I find that generally, kind of with doing a bunch of stuff on Saturday, we'll be spectating, cheering on Chris and Ian at the 5K. Hopefully,
Yeah.
watching the or inline skating race on Saturday as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
with so much going on Saturday, I always find that sleeping the night of a race is like I'm generally probably going to get like at most 4 or 5 hours. Well, I'll try my best to not have that be the case, but you're kind of the pre-race nerves. You're excited. You're like ready to go. You've prepped. You're fully carbed. You just want to race. So really just focusing on 8 hours up until Friday night, and that will kind of get me to that start line.
That's it. Keep it simple, but stay focused. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And now, once everything goes right, actually, I have one question about during. So I've done a couple here and there, dabbled in some marathons, but when I know we all talk about that wall, for some people that wall comes a lot harder and quicker than others, let's say, of course. But even with speedy runner man Andes like you must feel that wall come at a certain point. But what do you do to when things get tough on those last couple miles? How do you just bring yourself to that next level to just literally not slow down and keep pushing through? You have some tips and tricks?
Well, first of all, I will say that if I carb properly and I pace the first part properly, ideally you don't hit the wall. You do not
Greg,
need to
that's
hit the
nice.
wall. The wall is a myth. And it
Oh, I
means
thought the wall was, it had to
it
happen.
does not have to happen. It has to happen for you to learn that it's a myth because you got to get slapped with it so that you can overcome it. But it is definitely always going to get harder at the end. And it's just like trying to manage kind of the effort starting to rise, your heart rate starting to rise as it gets hotter into the day. You're more fatigued. So I think really then it's all on the mental kind of as far as physical, your body's starting to check out a little bit, but just those mental tricks of trying to chunk whatever you have left into smaller sections. This is one reason why I think kind of having that pre-race course recon is important, so you can kind of know different landmarks and okay, I have this much until that landmark, and then I go to the next landmark. Or, and ideally, if you have people that are coming to support, spectate you, ideally, and I think this will be the case for me on race day, we're still kind of figuring out a spectator plan, but you'll have someone in those final hard stages, and that mental boost of seeing the
Sure.
people kind of in that around 35 kilometer is so huge on helping you kind of mentally push past the pain to get you to that finish line.
Yeah, that is a good point. That literally works magic. And yeah, I think strong spectators plan and having the right people at the right time might just bring you past those hard miles and not hitting the wall.
Let's hope. Yeah, I mean, if you carb up good and
It's true.
you don't blast off the starting gate,
My problem.
the wall doesn't need to be a complete just like slog. It's going to hurt, but it doesn't need to be a slog.
Okay, I like to hear that. I think I'm going to bring myself a new light to the finishing miles of a marathon. I'm still coming through still finishing up my marathon plan for Petit Train that's coming up. But yeah, I think I'll rethink that wall strategy. Let's just call it. I thought it was had to happen. It happens to everyone every race, and you just got to deal with it. So I like that. There's a greener grass ahead.
And I mean, for Petit Train, you can just, if you hit the wall, You just
Just roll.
start rolling down and just bust through that wall, baby.
Yeah, just bust through that wall because that guy's going downhill either way. So okay, nice. Yeah, let's bring us to the final bit here. Post race, you've crossed that finish line. That medal is around your neck, and the beer doesn't taste any better than that moment right there. What are some other things you're going to be looking at for post race and recovery? Because you still have some shenanigans to go through after the race.
Yeah, super excited to run through the Brandenburg Gate.
Yes.
I'm excited. This is one of the reasons I love the majors so much is the finish lines are crazy between, what you're running through, whether it's Grant Park, Central Park, running on Boylston, or this one, Brandenburg Gate in the Tier Garden. The finish lines are just amazing. The crowds are insane. It's so loud that you can't think properly. You kind of go into that. You definitely go into that runner high where you're just, so happy that you're just about to be done. And yeah, that beer is gonna taste so good crossing that finish line.
That's going to be amazing. That beer and many more after and the days after, right? I'm not talking now just post finish line. You're planning on staying a couple days, right? And visiting around?
Yeah, so I'll still be in Europe for kind of another week and a bit after going down to Munich for Oktoberfest. So there will be some fun festivities, a couple pints to be shared with some family and friends, and with all the amazing people that came to support. So that should be fun. My only other thing for post race that I would say before you get to the festivities is that you should keep it moving and grooving post race. That is my
True.
biggest tip is that you want to keep walking. So if you can walk back to your hotel, walk to the few things, do your best to keep walking and doing kind of light stretches night of, because that will really help with how your legs feel the next day. If you just go collapse in your hotel room, next day you won't be able to go up and downstairs.
That is true. That's a good point because, doing more of these events, I could also see that. And like, we sometimes maybe at the beginning you're scared to, keep walking, keep doing whatever and recovering. But I honestly think it shaves days off of your recovery. Like, post marathon, if you keep walking, even next day, you're walking instead of either just being on the couch or at a chair, walking around during the day could reduce that, that, what do they call it? The DOMS effect. 2, 3 days later, you get that recovery and your legs feel decent midway through the next week. So even into like a day or two after.
100%. Yeah, I remember first marathon I did back in 2018. I was a literal zombie night of, and the next day I sat on the couch right when I got home and literally couldn't get up. And now, I mean, of course, you're still sore, your legs hurt, and depending on the effort, but completely night and day if you just flush out those legs.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. So you'll be flushing those legs out and taking in some of the local sights and sounds, I could imagine. So that'll be real fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will have done a bunch of sightseeing on the marathon course.
Yeah.
There's a
Right.
bunch of cool stuff to see, but I think the Sunday after, my hope is we're going for schnitzel at 5, so some nice German delicacies. So I'll have some time to hopefully do some walking around, sightseeing, and that's kind of my plan to try to not do it on the Saturday. I'll try my best to not do too much
Yeah,
sightseeing on Saturday unless it's on an e-bike.
that's nice. Yeah, I was gonna say leave it for you just distract yourself on the marathon day. You're running, sightseeing the town, checking out the sights and sounds, you're good to go. And then afterwards, of course, it's party time, but you're still sightseeing and enjoying the day. So that's going to be amazing. That was literally my question. Other than that was another question. Other than the usual snacks they give you after, what was going to be your go to meal after the marathon? And I think you said it. So that's going to be nice. Some nice schnitzel from the actual place that make that amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be real nice. That and a nice pint. It will be chef's kiss.
Amazing. I think we're good with our race recap, our race preview, unless you think we forgot anything. But I had a couple, you could call them hard hitting questions, and also couple silly ones in there, of course, get us going a little bit.
I
Anything
think
else you think?
I think we're ready for the hard hitting questions. I think that's really what listeners have come here for. So, you know, come at me and don't make it easy on me.
So we have covered your goal, A goal, B goal, C goal in previous episodes, but do you want to just flash those quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So going into
Let's do the
this,
goals.
my A goal was definitely a sub 240. That was kind of trying to break the 240 would have been was my A goal. It is my A goal. The B goal would have been a PR, so that would have been sub 242.11. And C goal would, I guess, just getting the Berlin Marathon star and finishing the race because that
For
extra,
sure.
the check, not a DNF.
For sure. Yeah, you got to stay up on 2 feet and finish, of course, because that's always step one. No, that's great. We'll be pressing rewind on this in a couple weeks to see what you came into, but I mean, it'll be yeah, definitely a great race for you. Another hard hitting question, and we've been tickling at it for the past weeks. You mentioned it again in this episode. Bring us through some of those phantom or not so phantom injuries. You could rattle us off a couple.
Yeah, so I've been dealing with some injuries. If there's been investigators that have been looking at my Strava, the graph has
Right.
been pretty dang flat for the last little bit, about week and a half, and even before that, the injuries were there. So it all started with a dang hip flexor injury on my left hand side that it was one of those I could still run. It wasn't getting worse, but it was definitely affecting my stride and was it would only feel good when I would do a longer run or a faster run. So that's fine. I could still hit my goals. I was still hitting workouts. So I wasn't too worried about it. Was going to physio, doing all the exercises. But then, and I think my working theory is that it caused a change in my stride. And because of that, I got shin splints in my right hand side. The dang shin splints were back. So
Haunting you. They're back.
that is actually why I took a full week after our half marathon time trial off. And I did a run yesterday, and my calf is not feeling good. So I am spooked. I said my A, B, and C goals, but I'm hoping I hit the C goal. Is all I'll tell you.
Well, yeah. I'm pulling it up here. The investigators out. Yeah, you did the half TT, which was of course speedy, and then yeah, nothing until from September 6th until yesterday. So which is the 14th. So you took, like you said, basically a full week off. You did sneak in those 13K on the Sunday, so you did get a 13K on that weekly graph. But yeah, that was. I had to text you a couple times asking for proof of life. There, I didn't see you on Strava for a good 5-6 days. So yeah, no. Hopefully those are some tickles, and that I think pushing through those pains at this point would have been a lot more detrimental than just taking the days off, of course, and really with maybe amateur, let's say amateur running, or amateur people in the sport will think you're losing all this fitness, the world is going to end, and of course we still think of those things, but I think that was the safe play to lay low on the mileage.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was really nothing to gain fitness wise in those 2 weeks. Way more to lose, and I think if I would have tried to run through it, I would have actually been in shambles. So I'm still kind of playing
Yeah.
with what I'm doing in this week leading up. If I'm gonna rest like completely, do a couple like really small runs, it's definitely gonna be less than I normally would have done. And I'm still kind of
Yeah.
playing it day by day. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at it. I'm on the Voltaire and heavy. I'm doing that
Yeah.
twice a day. I've been wearing a calf sleeve for recovery sometimes. I might wear it on race day. We'll see. I've been just having turmeric capsules. That was a recommendation that I got on the curcumin for the
Yeah.
inflammation of the shin splints. So I'm just tossing, you know, everything at it.
Everything at it.
And I'm hoping that on race day, it all comes together. But I'm
Well, well,
spooked.
Well, Frig, you're taking stuff out of my book. I'm telling you, and I'm still here. So you've got a perfect taper, like what I would call a perfect taper, a zero, a perfect taper. 10 days out, stop running up until race day. You're doing the turmeric. I love turmeric, and classic. Just wrap it up. All I got some KT tape for you. Just wrap the hell up out of both your legs. You'll look like a zombie out there, but at least you'll look cool.
So I'm glad you mentioned it because KT tape was the other thing I'm playing with or potentially want to play with. I have some. I'm not an expert on putting on KT tape, but I might watch some videos and do KT tape and calf sleeve for the race. I might have to. We'll see.
Frig, I'll lather you up with KT tape any day of the week. You let me know.
Love
But
it.
yeah, you just YouTube it up and you just literally say KT tape. I do runner's knee. You do shin splints. They'll have a few iterations of how to tape yourself up there. So I do think that's a good idea to try to maybe dabble in that. It just strengthens, I think, that area and gets those muscles to gives those muscles or bones a little bit more support.
Nice. Yeah. I'm hoping and praying that I get to that start line and the energy of Berlin brings me. I'm in my head. I'm still gonna be shooting for that A goal and see if like I can get within reason of close to it. I don't really even know if it's possible, even if the calf behaves itself with this hard taper. But yeah, we're gonna send it.
Hey, I mean, that's all you could do. You're pulling out all the stops. You got the mustache, and like I said, the phenomenal taper. So nothing can go wrong. And the high heels.
I do have the high heels. Yeah, I'll be in the Alpha Flies again, so I know
Okay.
those feel good, and hopefully, that will take some of the work off of the calf, and my legs just won't need to do any work. So that's best case scenario.
That's it. You got the high heels. That'll do all the work for you, really. You don't need to do anything else. One more hard hitting. This one you could say, I guess, is a little bit on the sillier side. If you had So let's say there's an aid station at mile 20. So I'm talking about mile 20, 32 kilometers in for our Canadian listeners out there. What is a snack is a must-have snack at mile 20 besides those regular gels, Morton's, bananas, what have you?
Oh yeah. So I think if it's like a non-liquid thing, like an actual
Do that.
food,
Yeah.
it would be nerd ropes, 100%. I'd want some nerd ropes just hand out. It's still super easy. I can pop one in and just c- carry it like it's a baton and just take little bites off of it. For me, nerd ropes are wonderful. I'll do clusters, but I think a nerd rope would be even better.
That would be true. And that's a quick pickup, no mess, and no wasting too. You don't have to drop half of it on the floor. That's a good play. I think that's the play. I might have to get some for my next long run.
And then if we're thinking liquids, I think a nice espresso shot just waiting for you just before the last you know, 10,
Yeah.
12K. I think an espresso shot with a side of nerd ropes would get me across the line just fine.
Well, I mean, they have tea out there, so they're not far off. They could just start pressing those Nespressos out, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and it's quick, it's efficient, just down the hatch and you're good to go.
Yeah, no cappuccinos or flat whites, just straight to the dome.
Oh yeah, no, that would mess up the stash for the race photos. The foam would get all up in the stash.
Oh, that would be real nice.
Okay, so I'm not the only one racing this weekend. I will be in Germany's capital racing, but you will be in our great nation's capital racing as well at the Army Half. And although it's
Yeah.
not your A race is still coming up. I want to get you to give us a quick preview of what is going down in Ottawa.
Well, frig. Yeah, I guess yes. I will be thinking, or what is it's going to be what 9 a.m. Canada. So you'll be done by then, right? Yeah, you'll be long
Oh
gone.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'll know your results. I'll be fired the hell up. Yeah, I'm basically running this half as a marathon training workout. So it'll be a marathon paced workout. It's pretty hilly in Ottawa. I haven't honestly I haven't looked at the course profile. I don't know if I will. I think I might just send I kind of know the area, so I know where there's hills and where there isn't. It's gonna suck either way. And another big news item is Nathan McDuff, a fellow BIM member freak with a nice stash. We will be going toe to toe. So he has my number on the 5Ks. This will be his first sanctioned 21. half marathon. But yeah, we're going to be towing the line together. I'm going to try to convince him to start out with me and do that, let's call it marathon paced work with me up until I'm thinking so my strategy, I guess we could call it going through it quickly, is the first couple K, use it as a prolonged warm up. I'm going to go into it with a few K warm up, but I'll use it as a warm up, go get into that, 5 zone 2, so 5:30, 5:15 per kilometer pace. First couple K, get used to it, then ramp it up to that marathon paced work. So for PR in Petit Train, I'm hoping for a pace of around 450 per kilometer. So I think I'm going to pin it to 450 per kilometer. Those, it's a hilly race, so I'll be able to see if the legs have juice. Legs are pretty fresh because, of course, I've been tapering for a half marathon. So legs are pretty fresh, not too tired, feel okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to be going through just past the halfway point, I think maybe through 14, 15 at that pace. And then I think if I feel good, I'll speed it up. So kind of treat it as a progression for the final five. So, drop a 5 to 10 seconds per kilometer up until the finish, hopefully. So we'll see. It'll be freaky. It'll be nice. A big turnout in Ottawa for that.
Love it. Yeah, I'm excited to see the half showdown after
Yeah.
the big showdown at the 5K and those epic picks.
Exactly. I think he's underestimating himself because he's done a 15K pretty quick actually, and I think he's just scared of that longer distance. But I think from 15 to 21 at his level, I think you just embrace the suck and you do that extra 6K won't be too bad for him, especially if he has me he's trying to chase or push. I think it'll be a showdown.
I'm excited for it, and after seeing a bunch of showdowns at the World Champs and the Norwegians at
Right.
the Ironman World Champs, I'm expecting some big, big, big showdowns, and I can't wait to see those race pictures because I'm hoping you can just pull off the your classic tickle at the end where you just get the zoomies, and that hopefully it's a close battle, or
Yeah.
you just put them in the dust right at the beginning.
Well, I hope it's a close battle, honestly, and I think and I know he could hold that 450, and obviously it could go both ways. I'm treating this as a battle, so it's going to be fun to do the showdown, but it could go both ways. He could rocket ship out of there and just I'll be spooked because he'll be going quick, and I'm hoping I could just catch him. And it's just the more experienced runner will be able to come victorious on that one. Let's just call it, or we stay neck and neck up until the end, and we just see who has the biggest kick. And again, I think the longer we go, the more chances I have at beating him. Basically, so I told him, bring it on. Just keep coming longer and keep joining me because I'll try to beat you. But I know the short game, he's got me for now. For now.
Love it. Yeah, I think if he does get you this time, which I hope he doesn't get you, but we'll see in our recap episode. But
Yeah, exactly.
QMT, if we get him to sign up for that, I feel like that's a whole other beast.
Oh, I do think so. Yeah, and
But
he's freaky because he's done his whole childhood. He's been hiking and power hiking and rucking every summer, so he's got I think a one up on those.
oh yeah, he's got the engine. Yeah, well, it should be a good battle. I'm excited to see it, and I'm sure there's some other people from the Ottawa crew that are racing as well.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people treating it kind of as a training run, kind of as in Ottawa, it's kind of race weekend in May is that big inaugural, let's call it opening of, the running season. And this army run is kind of the closing of that season. So it's kind of cool to see that the city comes together and is very, even though there's less participants, I think it's a well run and well participated event. So it's very going to be very exciting.
Cool, that's awesome. Sounds like we all have a very exciting race weekend.
It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to hear about it. I think we're going to cut it there. See, we thought this was going to be a short episode, but we had way too much to talk about. I knew this was going to happen. But yeah, that's a wrap on our Berlin, sponsored by BMW, Berlin 2025 marathon. That's our race week guide. Can't wait to see how you do, Andrew. I think we'll post a few, there must be those how to track me out there. So we'll get you on the tracker. We'll get our fans and followers on the tracker. And yeah, whether you're running, part of the cheering squad abroad, or in the actual zone that Andrew will be running, or already going to do a major or any other race next year. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, the tracker for Berlin actually got released today. So, if you've made it this far, you're potentially interested in seeing how I do at this race. So you can search 62079, that will be my bib number, or just my name, to see, whether I get that A goal or I bust a calf and end up on the streets of Berlin. But just once again, just huge love to the Boys of Motion crew, all the people that will be watching from afar, and especially the people that have made the way all the way to Berlin to come support me. It just makes it so much easier and suck less when I'm potentially hitting that wall. But yeah, if you're racing Berlin, spectating Berlin, or the Army Run, we want to see those race kits, those pre-race carb meals, and the post-marathon photos or the photo finishes between you and your best endurance buddy. So tag us on socials, join our Strava club.
100,000,000%. And just our weekly reminder, not medical pros, just a bunch of people doing races every weekend. And we like to talk about it. Always consult an expert before doing something crazy.
And on that note, run smooth, run smart, and if all else fails, just keep on moving and grooving through the Brandenburg Gate.